So today we've got Dave O'Leary into the podcast with us. Dave runs the Shift Auto Group, has been an entrepreneur all his life, and in the automobile business for the majority. So
yes,
do you want to tell us how you got started and what that looked like?
Yeah, a little life journey. Thank you again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Awesome to be here. It's cool you guys are doing this. I didn't have much choice. My dad was a car dealer. So we were talking before the podcast started, and he had me working full-time when I was 12 in the summer washing cars. I hated him for it. I hated him for it all through my teens because all my buddies all through my teens were enjoying summer, and I was working 40, 50 hours a week.
At 12 years old.
I started at 12 washing cars.
Wow.
Would have been, I think, 3 years washing cars, and I worked in parts for 2 or 3 years. I spent some time rebuilding transmissions back when we used to rebuild transmissions. I would help a mechanic do that, and then eventually, as my mom really wanted me to go to university. My dad didn't. So I went to university.
Now, when you went to university, did you take business or is there a car?
Yeah,
university
no. I went to UMB.
Okay.
One of the challenges I had with university, and this is not a slight against university, I had spent years sitting around sales meetings. My dad would park me in the corner of a Saturday morning sales meeting every Saturday. I would listen to them talk about business in general. He had exposed me to a bunch of business stuff really young. So when
subconsciously you were taking it all in, even though you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was half paying attention, probably reading a comic book, but I was still exposed to it.
Sure.
And then what I expected for year one of university in a business, course was, okay, now I'm going to learn the real stuff. I'm going to go back and teach my dad stuff he doesn't know. And it was, I had to take a German class, and we watched Apocalypse Now for a whole semester, and had to so I got, and this is not a slight on university, just my situation. It was a combination of I had a very different experience coming into university. And then I got I disenchanted with university really early, which led me to play cards at the sub all day. And basically, I think I lasted at UNB for like a year and a half, and then I went and sold cars.
There you go. Yep. So from the university experience, when you say it didn't excite you, is that because you knew more than what the university was teaching you?
I would say in year one, there was very little, at that point in time, maybe it's changed, there was very little business anything.
Sure.
It felt like an extension of high school. And again, I came from a very different spot. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who will listen to this who would tell me that if I'd have stuck it out and done my 4 years with my BBA, I'd have learned a ton of stuff that and I have regrets that I wish I'd have finished that university.
Sure.
Even over the years, I've thought about going back and just finishing it to say that it was done.
Have you done any extracurricular coaching or, courses? I'm assuming there must be courses in whether it's business or entrepreneurship or car sales. I'm sure there's other little pockets.
So university didn't excite me, but I've been a learner my whole life. I read several books, generally a month. Our team at work is constantly going through a business book. They call it my book club. We're constantly reading about stuff. I love to learn.
Sure.
And I've always loved to learn. But for whatever reason, at that point in my life, I was way more interested in the social side of university than I was the education side.
We learned from that too.
Yeah.
That's fairly common, I think.
I think so. Yeah,
absolutely. So I know there's a lot of little courses that you could do. Like I think I only sold cars for like 3 months, but I did Y management.
Yeah, we actually have Y management here right now in my boardroom with 33 of our team, training them this week.
Okay.
So yeah, I right out of university, I would have gone into sales training with Y management. Became really good friends with the owner of Y management, super good guy, and they've been a training partner of ours for, they trained me how to sell cars when I was 19 and I'm 49. So for 30 years, I've been associated with them, and they've done a lot of training for us. We've utilized other third-party companies for training. Yep. We actually have an in-house trainer at our organization for training process and onboarding people and that kind of stuff. So
a question that I think a lot of people like to know when it comes to this transition, especially when you leave high school, you go to university. Now that you're 49, looking back, if you could do it all over again, any changes in that high school to university, starting in business transition years?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have, and it's tough because your 49-year-old mind doesn't process the world the way your 19-year-old mind does, right?
Of course it doesn't.
If I go back and tell my 19-year-old mind, I would tell myself to get my poop together a lot quicker.
Because there's a song about that, isn't there?
There's probably several songs about it. A lot of country songs, I'm sure. I didn't take life too seriously until I was about 28 or 29. Okay. I really just kind of sold cars, and I was given a lot of opportunities by my father that I didn't really appreciate. I was given a chance to make a lot of really good income at an early age that I didn't appreciate, and I didn't manage that properly. So I think one of the biggest challenges, and I don't know how you design around it other than try to parent your way through it with your kids, is it's hard for a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old to know if they could just get a 4 unit at 20 and get somebody to co-sign for them, what that would mean for their life 20 years later. And I mean, I'm sure you guys see it in your industry all the time, right?
Absolutely.
If I could have held on to just all the houses that I bought and then barely made the payments on and then flipped and sold and I never really came ahead on anything I ever did in real estate until I was in probably my late 30s or 40s, but touched a lot of things that I certainly in retrospect should have held on to.
Sure. When did you get your first investment property? You were in Newfoundland doing that stuff before you came.
I was, yeah, but truly, the first house we ever bought, we flipped, right? Like we bought it, we were there for 3 months, we lived in it while we were doing it, and we sold it. I would love to have been able to go back and start earlier, and absolutely. So I want to go back to the. So how many dealerships did your father have?
So when I was growing up, when I was young, when I started working for him, he had just managed to get the Nissan dealership. So my dad came from a family of 6 kids, and he was the youngest, and his dad died when he was 4. So he had a really, I think that generation had to be a lot tougher than we do, right? And so I think the reason I was working at 12 was because he was working at 12 when he was 12. He had to, and so he really he started with his first business, actually, talking about entrepreneurship, was a fish and chip takeout stand in Nakawik.
Awesome.
And he's told me the story several times that he learned within a month, location matters, and Nakawik is not where you should go to put a fish and chip stand.
There you go. Yeah.
And he instantly had to start buying and selling cars on the side to pay for the fish and chip stand until he could sell it. So that's how he started buying and selling cars. And then he had a used car lot in Lincoln for a while, went on Prospect Street for a while. When I was a kid, before he had the Nissan dealership, he had a right where the Hyundai store is on Prospect Street. Now there was a little shack there that he and another kind of car guy in the city, Bobby Wheaton, had a used car lot together. And then I think around when I was 11 or 12, he managed to buy the Nissan dealership in Fredericton. He had a trucking company at the time. He was trucking cars he was the first guy in Atlantic Canada certified to go into Quebec and actually truck cars from the auctions there, because back then the government in Quebec wouldn't let you do it if you weren't from Quebec.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's I grew up in a very entrepreneurial home. By the time I left so I basically worked for my dad from the time I was 12 part-time, 19 full-time, until I was 2013. So however old I'd been then, 38, 39.
Just a young guy.
I quit working for him a couple of times, but when I did eventually leave him, we had grown it to 4 new car dealerships and an RV store.
Oh, wow.
So we had 5 locations.
And let's talk about the scale that you are now.
Yeah, sure. So I left my dad's business in 2013. Thought I hated the car business, tried some other stuff, epically failed at everything I tried. I tried running a tech company, definitely wasn't built for that. Tried, did some live events, Christian live events. And then Mitsubishi had reached out to me and wanted me to open a store for them here. They had known me from the development manager at Mitsubishi had been the development manager at Nissan back when we had a Nissan store with my father. So he reached out and we'd had a negotiation process for a few months, and it came to a point where, okay, I really think that I need to get back into the car business. I don't think it's the car business I hate. I think it's the family business that I disliked so much.
That can be a testy waters to navigate through for sure.
Yeah. So opened Fredericton Mitsubishi here in 2015. Built a little 4,000 square foot building, expecting to sell a certain amount of cars in a month, and sold kind of triple that the second month. We were really blessed with a really good team really early, and we had it's like your industry or any industry. In entrepreneurship, you're only as good as your weakest link. Your business is only as good as your people, right? Yeah. So, been blessed really my last 8 or 9 years to have a lot of amazing people, come on the journey with me. So Mitsubishi 2015. I desperately needed more service bays within a month, and the Volvo Subaru store was next to me, and I knew that the owner was building a new Subaru store uptown. So I started chasing him to buy his building. I didn't really want his business; I just wanted his building. And ended up buying Volvo. That's a crazy story in itself. Ended up getting Volvo when I really had no business getting it. And yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride since then. So since then, we've added, today we're 21 locations. We've got
Wow.
4 new car stores, 7 used car stores under the Recar banner and St. Croix Auto banner, and 9 Wonder Auto locations across New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and a body shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when it comes to employment scale, just for the listener, how many employees does Shift Auto Group? And sorry, are all the companies under the Shift Auto Group?
They are, yeah. Shift Auto Group's the banner that they all fall under.
Okay. How many employees would fall within Shift Auto Group?
Yeah, we're around 300 right now.
300 employees, and that started from 2015 in a Mitsubishi store.
Yep, 8 people, I think, 8 or 9 people in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
A quick breakdown of just from a scale perspective. When you're managing 300 people, obviously there's you, but how is your executive team, and how is that kind of laid down? If you don't mind, just break
I
it
don't
down
mind sharing.
quickly.
It's changed 210 times probably over the years.
Of course.
You know, one of the biggest challenges I think I certainly have had as an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have, is these glass ceilings you hit where if growth is your mandate, then as you grow, you actually have to dramatically change your style of management and leadership, or you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so today, so it started out where I micromanaged everything.
Mm-hmm.
I hired everybody, I trained everybody, I talked to every customer, I appraised every car, I bought a lot of the cars, you know. And then as we've grown, it's to the point now where I have an executive team of around 8 or 9 people that run the company, and I manage them, or work with them, I should say. You know, when you're growing this fast, trying to find that right blend of growing people and having people come beside you that you can actually as you develop, they can develop, is important. But I've really learned over the last couple of years, you know, I would say my management style today is I'm working hard to make sure I'm the dumbest guy in the room if I can. I'm trying to hire really, really, really smart people that.
Well, that
know
would
more
lead
than
into
I
my
do.
next question: is what is the greatest resource that you're currently using in order to maintain, grow, and succeed? I guess. Do you still have sites to grow larger?
Oh yeah. And I drive my wife crazy. Yeah. You know, I think there's this perception that other organizations are more organized than yours are.
Sure.
And I have yet to be exposed to an organization that isn't, a working disaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking like auto manufacturers. I've been exposed to a lot of big companies, and I think, you know, for me, where I'm at today is that nothing will replace good humans, people that are aligned, but also think the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of industries, and I'm sure you see this in real estate, I'm sure there's, you know, in a lot of industries that involve sales, a lot of the really, really good salespeople are actually really, really bad for the team and really bad for culture. You know, and in my early days, I would go looking for that lone wolf and I would try and tame them.
The superstar salesperson.
Yeah, that's just, you know, it's that's egotistical, and I've got a really big, they're super hard to manage and they terrorize people around them, but they give you the results. And we don't have any place for that person in my organization anymore.
Sure.
We just don't.
That's a huge realization.
Yeah, but then you've got to be okay. Yeah, I think people and I think communication as we've grown, our biggest challenge is everybody knowing what the frig's going on.
Yeah.
You know, we send out emails from, we don't call it our head office, we call it our hub, but we send out emails, we send out videos, we have meetings, and there's this expectation that our team, who's really busy at their location running that business, that they've absorbed it the way we've presented it, and they don't.
So that's what I wanted to lead into. With that many people, obviously for them to be going on the journey with you, they must share in your vision. How do you get them to align with your values?
Well, we just talk about it a lot. Like if you walked into my head office, there's 7 key values on the wall that we talk about a lot. You know, we have a lot of, unfortunately, we're spread out, so we have a lot of Zoom meetings. You know, and we're still figuring it out. I would say that our culture's okay. Definitely anybody who is exposed to me a lot or who is around the hub a lot would understand what our culture is. Taking on Wonder Auto was a huge lesson for us because we added 8 locations at the time, I guess, all at once.
That was my question.
And that was a company that had been around since 1977 and ran a certain way since 1977. You know, and we were taking over this company and we were trying to get that team to understand what was important to us culturally. So, you know, I would say we're a work in progress on all this stuff. Culture is wicked important to me. You know, I spend probably more time reading books, listening to podcasts, watching training stuff on culture as I do anything else. because I do see in our organization that it really does matter. And I think it's impossible to have people aligned on vision if they're not aligned on the kind of culture you're trying to create.
That's fantastic to hear. We've set our sights as far as this company is culture,
Yeah.
to make sure we find the right fit and people fit within the culture that we want to emulate, not within just our staff, but within the community. Does your organization do charitable work or community work as far as, is that part of the value system and the culture?
Yeah. So I would say that's layered, that's double layered. So we certainly believe in being part of the community and giving back.
Mm-hmm.
We're big supporters of the Fredericton Community Kitchen and the work they do with the Feeds a Student program. But at a whole different level, the whole purpose, like my wife and I's purpose, is actually to give back. So we, and obviously I would never get into numbers, but we give away a large percentage of what our company makes. Good. We just do it really, really, really private.
Well done.
I'm not a believer in, I'm totally a believer that if we're going to support the Fredericton Community Kitchen, then we need to expose and give that organization as much attention as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But not do it in a way that you're shining light on you.
I don't want to be in the newspaper. I guess if there's still such thing as a newspaper, I'm sure there is. I don't want to be on social. I avoid being on social like the plague. I don't want the attention to be on us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the vast majority of the money we give away would be to people in need. It would be to Christian-centered organizations that help people, and it would be done in private. Our entire leadership team knows we do this, but it's not a KPI you'd see in a dashboard anywhere.
That's awesome. Right. Well done.
It's also very challenging too because when people know, you're going to get, everybody will ask you for charitable donations, and it's a hard thing to. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of people that have needs, right? And the challenge is too. It's in our culture, we've had to funnel most of our requests through a specific individual, and they kind of filter the requests, and then if they meet a certain criteria. We're looking to help a widowed mom. We're looking to feed the homeless. Mm-hmm. We're looking to help a prisoner coming out of prison. We're focused, I would say, on more biblical things we're called to do to help, more so than, and I don't want this to come the wrong way, but more so than, can you sponsor my son's football team?
Sure.
And that's not a slight at all on the parent who's looking for that donation. It's just we've made the decision that our resources generally need to go to a certain. The problem is with being generous is if you're not specific in what your mission of generosity is, then it's super hard to be actually impactful anywhere, because you're casting such a wide net that you're really not having an impact. Whereas if we get more sniper rifle than shotgun in an area, then we can have dramatic impact by sowing into that area, right?
And you can actually apply the same principles to a business perspective. Circling back to like that entrepreneurship style. Has there been a pivotal moment or experience that has really kind of, call it a TSN turning point in your journey of business and or life?
Yep, I've had a couple that I can think of. The first one would be when I was 27, flat broke, didn't have money for a mortgage payment, had a mortgage payment due in like 7 or 8 days. And I wasn't working for my dad. I quit working for him, and I called him, and I had to beg him for a sales job.
Was that the first time or the second time you left him?
Ouch.
Or the third one?
Second, I think. Second. So for me, I think that's what forced me to grow up.
Okay.
And I became I was pretty lazy. I wasn't pretty lazy. I was super lazy till that moment in time. And then something switched in my brain where it's like, okay, one thing that I am positive is that nobody can outwork me. I didn't finish university. I might not be the smartest guy in the room. I haven't got a degree. But if I apply myself and I outwork everybody, then I will be successful. And that switch happened at that time. The most impactful thing that's ever happened to me is coming to know, my faith in Jesus, and my faith system has changed my perspective on what matters in life, what matters. I wouldn't be a very good dad, friend. I am my life has been dramatically changed for eternity because of my faith.
Hey.
So those would be the two biggest ones for me.
Good. Yep. Good stuff. I love that.
How do you manage your time? So if you're running that many dealerships, and I understand you have a great infrastructure underneath you, but that is a lot to take on.
Yep, 100%.
So being a family man, devoting time to the church, everything that you're doing, how do you balance?
Yeah, I think balance is false. I don't think balance is a thing. I think rhythm is a thing.
Okay.
So I chased balance for a bunch of years, and I sucked at it. So what my wife and I have talked through, and what I chase is rhythm. So if you're an entrepreneur, I'd say two things. I'd say that you actually have permission. You have the right to give yourself permission to never miss a sporting event, never miss a dinner, and never miss a Sunday. And I don't. I haven't. My dad actually was a workaholic, and at the end of my dad's life, he passed a couple of years ago, but at the end of his life, the last 8 or 10 years, we were best friends, and he had a lot of regrets for how hard he worked and how much stuff he missed.
Interesting.
So at the tail end of his life, he actually really beat into me, do not do what I did.
Right.
And I'd already learned that from watching him do what he did.
Yep.
Right. So, so I at 5:30, I just close my laptop and I go home and I have dinner with my family, and I try and stay as unplugged as I can. The flip side of that is I'm never not working.
Right.
So this concept of, I do not bring my phone to the dinner table because I value my life.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I answer an email, I answer a text. If a call comes in that needs to be addressed, and I'm at a pool, I'm on vacation, I'm at my son's hockey game, then I will either address that, or I will message them and say, I'll call you back in a few minutes, and I will deal with that. I process the stuff as it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I can't imagine people who go on vacation and ignore their email for 4 days and then try and deal with all that stuff. Yeah. So
that
for
doesn't
me,
make a vacation fun.
No. So for me, it's a lot more about the rhythm. I've got a lot of stress, like a lot of entrepreneurs do. So, my wife and I have a rhythm of things that we do, whether it be, date nights, or whether it be short little vacations that we go on, or things that we do to kind of keep that rhythm in place. And then I'm old enough now where I just listen to my body. And if I'm ticked off at work 2 days in a row, she's time to modify something.
That's very valid.
Yeah.
Do you have, as part of that rhythm, I really like this concept, as part of the rhythm, do you have, do you go by weekly, monthly? I'm just thinking, I know early on I had a real estate coach or a business coach that said you have to set one night a week just for you and your wife, or for you and your kids, or for, is there anything that you would like to share to a listener or a viewer that says, if I give you one piece of advice from a rhythm perspective, what would you say that would be? One or two items?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know if this would work for everybody. What works for us, first of all, if you don't really like what you do, if you're doing it for the money, for the cheddar, and you don't really like it, you're never going to find rhythm. You're never going to find balance. Mm-hmm. Step one is you've got to actually, because part of rhythm is so our rhythm, and this might be totally dysfunctional, I don't know, but this is our rhythm, is that we go wide open, both of us. My wife and I are wired the same way. We chocker block full our schedule.
Okay.
There hasn't been a night this week where I don't think I've had something to do. She's had something to do. Not that we don't always have our meals together. Not that my wife's super involved at our church at Hope City. Obviously, I've got lots we're busy. Mm-hmm. And we've realized that for us, it's a 6, 8, 10 week, we can run at that pace. And then we have to either back the pace off and have a softer, slower week at home. Mm-hmm. Maybe take a Friday. Maybe we disappear for a Friday and go away somewhere, just her and I. Or we have to go on vacation with our kids somewhere for a few days. But there has to be a rhythm or a break there.
6 weeks on, 1 week off.
You got it. Yeah, and I mean, listen, I spent a lot of time feeling quite guilty about. It's funny how you get imposter syndrome and you get in these positions, and it's like, okay, a lot of my staff, a lot of our team couldn't afford to just take a Friday off, or they couldn't afford to just take, more than their 2 or 3 weeks vacation a year. But, for me, for the stress that I deal with and all the stuff that, I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, and anybody listening to this who's an entrepreneur in their own business, they know like the insert swear word stuff that we deal with can be off the charts. And I really don't think you understand what it's like, what happens to an entrepreneur when one of their rider dies that they thought was going to be with them forever, stabs them in the back. Mm-hmm. Or when their really good customer that's not reasonable, sues you. Mm-hmm. Or when, like the things that happen to us that we have to keep very private, that we can't tell everybody about, that only our wife understands, or maybe our coach. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's going to understand that until you've lived it. And for me, that's the rhythm I need to operate. I can operate at a super high, super effective level for a 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 week period, and then I have to go work somewhere else.
Sure.
For a few days.
I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
My last experience to here, which was great, and it was a company that I learned a ton from, But the opportunity to kind of come here and work with Dave has just been, for me, it's been life-changing because now I'm getting to do the same things that I've wanted to do the entire time. But
right on.
just not with 100 people.
I think, too, to talk about balance and rhythm, I think you have to earn the right to call your rhythm. Like what I see a lot in our organization is 21-year-olds wanting that rhythm.
Right.
And I think culture hasn't done a great job in explaining to young people. Like when I leave here, I'm going to go talk to the 18 people who are in we split our 33 up into 2 courses for training. And I'm going to go talk to our 18 people that are in training today and tell them like you can listen really good. You can take all kinds of notes here. You can really get this. Mm-hmm. But if you don't outwork everybody else at this early stage, you're not going to make it. You know, and I really think that a lot of people look at an entrepreneur who's been doing it for 20 or 30 years, you know, and they would like to. They just don't see. It's like the athlete who has overnight success at 29.
Right.
They don't see 20 years of intense
training,
work,
coaching,
and training and discipline to get to that point. Right. So, you know, I do think we've lied to the younger generation around what's required if you want to get that rhythm and balance and you want to be successful in business later on.
So, have there been any when you're navigating challenges or going for that goal that you've set? Any key implementation that you could say in my 30 some years of experience, you know, I've learned this. I will be able to, I can achieve a goal a lot faster now because I've got 30 years experience. So for the 21-year-old who wants to achieve that goal, success, that life story, is there anything you would say like, you know, take this course, read this book, or offer, you know, take on a coach? I heard you use the word, I can talk to my wife because she knows what's going on, or I can talk to my coach. Any advice in that way?
Yeah, I mean, you need to seek wise counsel, and you need to be very careful that your counsel is on your side, right? So it's a bit of a dangerous path to trust in somebody. But I've had a coach for 20 years.
Great.
Same coach?
Yeah, pretty near. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I met him. Yeah, it would be almost 20. It'd be 18 or 20 years, and it would be the same guy. Same
industry, I'm going to assume.
No, he's multi-industry, so he doesn't just cover one industry. You know, I would say that you've got to constantly be learning. You know, have I read books that are incredibly impactful to my life? Yeah. John Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership. I still read it once a year with my team. I think that, you know, a lot of the John Maxwell Leadership Gold is another one I can think of. There's some books there that really speak to leadership. You know, there's some pastors. Craig Rochelle does an incredible leadership podcast I listen to on a regular basis.
Great.
I find it's incredibly grounded and applies to everybody in life. You know, but I think for me, that the only thing that's allowed me to keep my head on straight is just constantly sponge, wanting to learn.
Continue to learn at this day and age, even
till you die. Like I don't. Yeah. I want to be learning when I'm on the tail end of her. Like I don't. The world's changing super fast too, right? So, you know, what worked in my industry 10 years ago does not work today.
Trends are changing. Social is changing.
Oh, yeah.
Viewership is changing.
Everything, even buying habits, how long people keep their cars, what motivates them to buy a car, whether they care if your company is you know, helping the community or is socially responsible or is green. Like there's so many things that have changed across all industries. You know, the other thing that I would say a lot of, and I, you know, I'm rambling a bit, but the other thing that I would really challenge younger entrepreneurs is unless you are a freak, you have got to pick a lane. Because most entrepreneurs see opportunity everywhere. Like every time I go eat somewhere, I'm like, man, if this restaurant just did this or this, they could really do a lot better.
I have a lot of entrepreneur friends that do the same.
Like, but the problem is that like, and maybe this is a personal experience, but like I've tried other stuff and I sucked at it. Like I was not good. But when I get back in my lane that I've been called into based on experience or based on what I enjoy, then the passion's there, the knowledge is there, and you can achieve. And business is tough today. Like business has always been tough, but business is hard. And I would really encourage anybody who's young, looking to get into this, find something you're passionate about, become the absolute subject matter expert in that area, and then the money will probably figure itself out.
Absolutely.
But you got to find something that you are really passionate about, and then don't waver. Don't open up other stuff. And I know a few entrepreneurs who can do a bunch of stuff, but I've met very few.
At the very beginning of my real estate career, that was something that Dave constantly, because I was running nightclubs, I was doing everything to try and make a side hustle while doing this. And he's like, if you just focus, like you're doing well, just focus. And Yeah.
Oh, and there's
I had to
all
be reined in a few times.
but there's all kinds of these social media, talking heads that will tell you the side hustle's the way you get there, and that's how you do it. And man, not many people can pull off a side hustle.
Stay in your lane. Is there something that really inspires or drives you to stay focused in doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, our calling to give back is the main reason I would be as passionate as I am at this age as I was 10 years ago. Like I really feel like my purpose in life is to be generous and to help organizations or people that need it. So I really think
I love that. That's
I
great.
really feel
That's
like
amazing.
I really feel like I've been fortunate to meet a lot of incredibly wealthy people over the last 20 years. And if they don't have a purpose that's more than making money in their life, I haven't met very many that are happy.
Excellent.
I've met a lot of incredibly wealthy people who are on their third spouse. They don't even like that person that much. They've got the big boat they want to show you, the big house they want to show you. They focus a lot on what people see about them on the outside. Their social media profile is perfect.
Yep.
But they're miserable.
Right.
And for me, I would much rather wholesale cars out of my house in flip-flops.
Sure.
And be content and happy and feel like I had purpose than be incredibly wealthy and not have purpose.
I watched, it was a clip that came through one of my feeds, and it was a good definition of success is your kids coming back to hang out with you
Big time.
in their adult life.
Big time.
And my wife sent that to me, and that has been one of our driving focuses is to create a culture that our family wants to play and hang out with us.
Big time.
So fingers crossed we're doing well. They asked me to play on their Frisbee team this year, so 43-year-old Dave ran around the Frisbee field on Tuesday night. Jeez.
So I was going to ask you that. So is that one of your goals to have your kids kind of take on the lineage of the family business?
Yeah, not at all.
Honest answer?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of my personal experience, right?
Sure.
What I've told my kids is that you have experienced and you have grown up in a household where entrepreneurship has provided us a certain lifestyle. And I don't mean the size of our house, which is pretty modest. I don't mean stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can leave work on a Thursday and not come back till Monday and not tell anybody.
Mm.
I can go on more than my allotted 2 weeks vacation this year if I want. I never miss a hockey game, a football game. Not that they play football, sorry. A hockey
Sure.
game. My daughter plays volleyball. The sports,
Yeah,
right?
of course. Their activities.
So, so what I've told my kids is that, listen, if you're called to be a veterinarian, then I would be ecstatic. I would be the most proud dad if you'd be a veterinarian, but you need to own your own clinic.
Aha.
You need, because what entrepreneurship actually gives you that is more valuable than the financial side, like it is the freedom of being an entrepreneur. It is the freedom of time. And time, as you get older, like the 21-year-old that listens to this is going to think I'm crazy, but as you approach 50, man, my most valuable commodity is time.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my message to my kids has been, and I come from a background where I had incredible pressure to go into the family business.
Of course.
And it actually caused me to hate it for the first 10 years of my life.
Sounds like it.
Right. So I think, the last thing I want my kids to have is pressure to actually do anything they don't want to do.
Sure.
I just think they're going to have a hard time getting through life because we've created this expectation for time freedom because they've grown up in an entrepreneurial home where they're not going to have that if they work for somebody else.
Great. So I think we're coming to an end here, but any aspirations or any goals that you would have to drive you for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I want to be in the will of God. I want to do what I feel like I'm called to do. We certainly are going to grow more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe businesses maintain; they grow or they shrink. I think this concept that a business can just stay the same is false. I think you have to be growing, or you have to be figuring out how to sell it, because if not, you're going to shrink. And I have no interest in selling.
Right.
And I'm certainly not okay with shrinking. So so I think we're certainly going to be focused on growth. What that looks like will totally depend on the opportunities that are presented to us. We're going to stay within our guardrails, which is
stay in your lane.
If it sells cars, if we're going to sell cars, we're going to help people fix their cars, and we're going to sell them parts.
Excellent.
And we're going to do it as honorably and as effectively as we can. And anything outside of that, I don't want any part of. But one nice thing about starting to get some scale is that you don't have to go chase opportunities as hard; they start coming to you.
Excellent.
So yeah, I'm sure we'll grow some more, and I'm sure we'll I don't view retirement as a thing. I'm probably going to do this as long as physically I can. So, so yeah, I'm sure there'll be more stuff happen.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming out. There's some
thanks,
very
guys.
wise words. It's really interesting to listen to you speak, and it's no wonder that you've been a phenomenal leader in your industry.
Well, man, I'm just blessed. I have such. I mean, I have so many people who sit in a boardroom with me who are so smarter than me that allow me to lead them in a way that they follow. You know, and I've been very fortunate, and I'm appreciate being here. This is a good experience. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. We can't thank you enough. It's been a great time.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks,
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for anyone who tuned in.